Testing, testing. Trustee Levy, can you test your microphone? Test, test, 1, 2, test.
Good evening. Welcome to the Village Board meeting of January 20th, 2026. I almost said 25, but I caught myself. I want to extend a special welcome this evening to Girl Scout Troop 45676. This is a joint troop from both Walker and Bessie Rhodes, Dr. Bessie Rhodes School of Global Studies. Village Clerk Manal Desai and the Girl Scouts will lead the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Please rise if you are able. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wait for just a moment for our young friends to go home. Thank you. I would also just take this moment to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones if you haven't done so already. Thank you. And if one of the officers would kindly close the door, please. Thank you. So we have received, before we proceed with other business, we have received a request from Trustee Lissa Levy for approval to attend and participate in tonight's meeting remotely pursuant to the provisions of Section 7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act and Section 2-38 of the Village of Skokie Code due to illness. We have a quorum of the board physically present tonight, and we have made arrangements for Trustee Lissa Levy to participate via Zoom. If the board approves the remote participation, Trustee Lissa Levy may participate and vote on all matters on the agenda. Do I have a motion to allow Trustee Lissa Levy to participate in tonight's meeting remotely? Moved by Trustee Robinson, seconded by Trustee Kamani Levy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy? Trustee Pure-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye. Thank you. Trustee Lissa Levy is considered present for the purposes of this meeting. Now,
Thank you.
So I call the meeting to order, and I ask that Village Clerk Manal Desai please call the roll.
Trustee Pure-Slovan?
Here.
Trustee Schechter?
Here.
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Here.
Trustee Robinson?
Here.
Trustee Iverson?
Here.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Here.
Mayor Tennis?
Here, and we have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to have removed from the consent agenda? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve. Trustee Robinson, second by trustee Pure-Slovan. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kimani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Pure-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye. Thank you, and the motion passes. We now have two swearings in of the following personnel by Commissioner Nicole Pottist of the Board of Fire and Police Commission. Joseph Dickert and Avery Albiola, both as firefighters. So I see that Commissioner Pottist from the Board of Fire and Police Commission is at the podium, and she will swear in our new firefighters.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, elected village officials and staff, Police Chief Barnes, Police Chief Hoflick. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I have to update my script. Members of the Skokie Police and Fire Departments, honored guests, friends, and family. Thank you for joining us tonight for this meaningful occasion as I have the distinct honor of swearing in two newly appointed firefighters in the village of Skokie. This ceremony is more than a celebration of career milestones. It is a celebration of public service. Today, we recognize individuals who have chosen to dedicate themselves to something greater than themselves, the safety, well-being, and trust of this community. Public service is not simply a profession. It is a calling, a promise to show up when others are in need, a promise to act with integrity, compassion, and courage, even in the face of uncertainty. To our new firefighters, you are stepping into the finest tradition of fire service here in Skokie, rooted in bravery, teamwork, and a tireless commitment to others. You're now joining a department that stands as a beacon of excellence and service, and we welcome you to the Skokie Fire Department and to our community. Congratulations to each of you. We are proud of your commitment and grateful for your service. Okay, so we will swear in Officer Joseph Dickert, please. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Henry,
I, Joseph Dickert,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners.
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of a firefighter to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a firefighter to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. I will give you this certificate of appointment. And then, just congratulations.
Firefighter Dickert, welcome, and would you kindly, if you care to stay at the podium, maybe go by the microphone. Is there anyone in the audience who you would like to introduce?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My girlfriend, Sabrina, in the back corner over there, my mother, Debbie, and my father, Rob.
Thank you.
I will swear in firefighter Albiola, please. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, your full name,
I, Avery Albiola,
do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
do do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Illinois,
the state of Illinois,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
the ordinances of the village of Skokie,
and the rules and regulations of the fire department,
and the rules and regulations of the fire
and
department,
the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and the Skokie Board of Fire and Police Commissioners,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a firefighter to the best of my ability.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of a firefighter to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank
And then this is, you just signing this. You sign it.
Firefighter Albiola, welcome, and would you care to introduce anyone in the audience?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce my fiance, Hannah, and also we're expecting our first child in May. And then my fiance's family, Lisa and retired firefighter Jimmy Hosfield, and Natalie Palmer, her sister. And then my mom and my brother, Antoinette and Devin. And then my old boss, Elmwood Park firefighter Jimmy Karras and his wife, Nicolette.
Thank you. So I would like to offer, on behalf of the board, congratulations to both of you. You are joining the ranks of a truly outstanding fire department. The Skokie Fire Department provides wonderful, excellent service to the entire community. It is recognized as a premier department, not just by our community, where the fire department is truly beloved, but also by the rating agency that for decade after decade has designated the Skokie Fire Department as an ISO 1 department, which is the highest rating achievable. So welcome to the village of Skokie. We look forward to watching you to your careers. Thank you for your service. We will now take and thank you to your families for sharing you with us. There's a sacrifice that is made by the families of our first responders, and we are grateful to you as well. So with all of that said, we will now take a 5-minute recess, and so that to congratulate our newly sworn-in employees. Thank you. Board, we will reconvene at 7:48. Okay, we will reconvene. The next item on the agenda is public comment. This public comment period and the public comment at the end of the meeting are for addressing the board in regard to items that are not part of this evening's agenda. Each speaker is allowed a precise 3 minutes. Please note that this is an opportunity for community members to address the board, and thus the board is listening and we will not respond. This agenda item is, both at this juncture and at the end of our meeting, will accommodate up to 10 speakers, so up to 30 minutes. Please note, speakers who comment during the first public comment period may not speak again during the later public comment period. So I see we have our first speaker, Mr. Jarvis.
Hello, thank you. My name is Matt Jarvis of Skokie, Illinois. I don't really have a concern so much as an advocacy. I'm hoping that the board might consider introducing a commission for transit. I was noticing that our boards lacked any sort of cohesion around transit. I mean, maybe under sustainability. But I think there should be a commission that would allow for residents to lobby for specific paths or incorporation of PACE routes or CTA routes or what have you. So I think a transit board might be useful in trying to organize the various types of modes of transportation in our village, and then allow that to come back to the board, or that the board could then defer transit thoughts to the commission. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Jarvis. Mr. Oskin.
I am Lieutenant Colonel Arnold Oskin, retiree from the Army. I've been a Skokie resident for close to 50 years. I've been publicly elected 3 times during my time in Skokie, and I currently am a commissioner on one of the commissions in Skokie on public safety. I'm here to talk about the Airbnb and short-term rental proposal that is before you this evening. I believe that the resident of Airbnb...
Mr. Oskin, I'm so sorry. I have to be consistent with the rules. The reason I'm stopping you is that these comments right now are on non-agenda items.
Non-agenda.
So when that item comes up in a few moments, we will have time for addressing the board on that issue. Thank you for your, no problem, thank you for your understanding. Ms. Grabnicki.
I hope we don't lose
I can, Lauren, I'll have to do the screen share for you.
Okay. Can we start it from that slide that it's on? Will I be able to control which moving?
Yeah, you can control it now.
Okay. So,
I just wanted to make sure Trustee Levy could see the screen.
I can see your slides.
okay, good. This is the slide, well, I stopped on the slide after this, but here I was talking about the energy balance that we have with the sunlight coming in and the thermal energy being radiated back out, and there is a buildup of energy at 0.6 watts per meter square. So every meter on Earth, every second, is getting 0.6 joules of energy that it's not letting back out into space, which is a tiny fraction of the incoming radiation, but it adds up. And the problems that this causes cost a lot of money to clean up. I'll get to that on another topic, but we can stop this from happening, and the biggest contributor to trapping this heat is greenhouse gases from building operations. Transportation is the second biggest contributor nationally, and food waste is the third biggest contributor globally. In terms of building operations in this region, actually that contributes almost 2/3 of our emissions. But, oh, I can't see what this... So we could have better building codes. And I know Skokie follows the Illinois building codes, but they're just not tight enough. Buildings should be so airtight that they need an air exchanger to bring in fresh air and release some of the CO2. insist that all buildings have eliminated the thermal bridges, which means that heat can't be conducted outside from the metal that goes through the wall of the building. Eliminate solar thermal gain, meaning if you strategically position the windows and the balconies and the trees, then the sun isn't beating into the building in the summer to heat it up. HVAC and water heaters could use only induction. Certainly, they don't have to be using gas. Anytime we're burning stuff to heat the buildings, to run generators, to do those things, that is releasing greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, trapping more heat. Buildings can make all of the energy they need. This is a passive house standard, the Living Building Challenge, and in fact, Living Building Challenge is even cooler because they only use the water that falls on the footprint of the building. So they are that efficient with their water use. Commercial buildings could be required to use gray water. All of these things will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. This is yours. It's not going to the next slide. There. Boston already beat us to a zero carbon zoning. Like they have an entire section where they say, no, commercial buildings now have to be zero carbon, including residential commercial buildings like apartment buildings. And actually they just recently approved a commercial building right, that's going to be zero net carbon. And I will tell you more about that next time.
Thank you. Is that you? Oh. Should we take that down? One moment, please, Mr. Shah. Okay. Mr. Shah. I'm so sorry, the document camera is not working this evening. It's not available this evening because of Trustee Lissa Levy's participation remotely.
Okay. Well, I guess I will hold it, my little sign.
My apologies, Mr. Shah.
No problem. I asked for an ethics review under Skokie's own code of ethics. The village responded by narrowing ethics to gifts and political activity without addressing conflicts of interest, independence of judgment, or governance failures affecting public safety. Skokie's code of ethics requires transparency, independence, and accountability. Those requirements have still not been addressed. I'm placing that concern on the record. And I'm going to hold my little signs now. In the last minute, I'd like to take a moment of silence to honor Mr. David Daka's mother, who recently passed away.
Thank you.
The materials to pass out.
We'll wait to stop the clock, or start the clock until everything has been
I appreciate
distributed.
that.
Mhm. Okay.
Good evening. My name is David Dalka. I live at 9330 Laurel, effective today with the Secretary of State. I first would like to remind people that the next Elk Grove Coffee with the Board and Mayor will be held on the first Saturday of February. I've tried to get people from this trustee group and the village management and the new mayor to attend this meeting. I think it's a very productive meeting. It would mean a lot to me if one of you would come see how this meeting operates so that we could replicate it here in Skokie. And I appreciate your attention to that request. I'm going to read the letter aloud that I wrote to people, and forgive the typos in it. All my stuff is in disarray, and I wrote it in a hurry today. I've officially moved to 9330 Laurel effective today. While doing some house maintenance this past weekend, I was reminded of something occasionally wonderful in the northwest side of Skokie, the wildlife. If I was allowed to use the document cam, which under the Open Meetings Act I technically should be allowed to, I would show you the picture of a bald eagle that I saw flying above our house this weekend while I was doing yard work. It was a majestic, beautiful sight. It's also a symbol of freedom in this country and shows that tyranny cannot be tolerated. Skokie welcomes everyone. That's what the flyer says. I seek the same treatment as everyone else from today going forward. I'm asking for temporary ceasefire, removal of the Oakley letter. I seek to execute on Trustee Schechter's positive idea from the December commission meeting where she said we should see how many items are complete in my June 3rd letter and the small number that have been added so we could make progress towards my goal, which is to complete all those items and to not come to these meetings anymore. Let's start with a meeting with the village management team in and around 9330 Laurel with Officer Wilkins, not Detective Chief Oakley, present to document this interaction. I need to see immediate resolution of the following items from the June 3rd letter, a plan for fiber internet ASAP to that address via AT&T Fiber, Google Fiber, Ripple, or others. I need help from Cook County getting over all the money we're owed from the broken cars and wheels and taxes owed back. Commissioner Morita's office is not being helpful. We seek four-way stop signs at Laurel and Lyons and Laurel and Emerson. Other neighbors also want these. We seek to start on several IDOT items, and we promise to never to send me or anyone else to the local Endeavor Health from 9330 Laurel. I've requested that in writing from Chief Eichner. I've not gotten that back yet. A vote on the 4th ambulance at the first February meeting.
Mr. Dalka, your time is completed. We have your letter. Thank you.
I look forward to hearing from you.
Would you kindly just state your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Deborah Wilson. I'm otherwise known historically as Wheeling's watchdog for the village of Wheeling. I have not been active for many years as a local government watchdog, but a little over a year ago, I was moved to tears when my nurse showed up to give me my IV. My previous nurse had just retired after 13 years of coming to my house every month for 13 years. I got a new nurse, and she's crying. This sweet thing. She takes very good care of me. I said, what are you crying about? She said that her car was carjacked out of the Walgreens parking lot. Now this fellow here, I'm going to tell you something. This gentleman, is it Lockerbie? Let me tell you something. This Jesse fellow, is this chief? He had a big heads up that I was coming. I gave him every back door to correct this matter. I I told him no arrest had been made. She had to make a call an attorney to even get anyone in the police department to return her call. The policemen recognized the youth and went in the Walgreens and they looked at that security footage. Oh, we know these, they're regulars with us, right? So she's telling me this happened, whatever the night before. So I go, and I get one of those key dates, when every policeman's going to be at the courthouse. I was there. And I saw those youthful faces, right? I thought, they didn't make an arrest. Nobody was showing up because they just weren't going to make the arrest. Like, hey, you got to be kidding me. I thought it'll show up. No one's there. 2 weeks later, carjacking at gunpoint in Old Orchard. Well, I bet they're the same thugs, right? I go to the arraignment, right? You think it was the same folks, the same young men? I think based on your historical numbers of auto theft, I think your new policeman's cooking the books to impress his village manager why he gets a raise. Oh, my great policing has reduced auto theft, carjackings, okay? 21, 92 auto thefts. 2022, 111 auto thefts. 21 was 92, 22 it went up to 111, and then forgive me, 2024, it shows this is all published, your published annual police report. 2023, it went up to 206.
Ms. Wilson, I'm so sorry, your time is up. If you have written comments you'd like to submit, you're welcome to do that. Ms. Wilson, I'm so sorry, but your time is up. Ms. Wilson, you need to please leave the podium now. Thank you.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
I'll be back. And I told him.
Ms. Wilson, please leave the podium now. You need to leave the podium. Thank you. Leave. Please sit down. Please sit down. Please sit down. I really would not want to have you removed from the chambers. Thank you. Is there anyone else who has not addressed the board, who would like to address the board at this time on a non-agenda item? If not, we'll close this public session period, public comment period. Before we proceed with the report of the village manager, I would like to, first of all, thank everyone who came out this evening and braved the cold. We do have information on the village website. It was in today's electronic newsletter about how to protect your home and yourself, your family in this cold. I would encourage everyone to take a look. Also, I would like to thank our numerous community partners who are opening their buildings to provide shelter to those who may need it during this cold snap, including Cook County, that is making the Cook County Courthouse on Old Orchard Road available on a 24 hours a day until a portion of the courthouse, I should say, available for warming 24 hours a day until the cold snap subsides. So, with that said, we will go to the report of our village manager.
Thank you, Mayor Tennis and village board members, and good evening, everyone. Item A is regarding a recommendation for adoption of ordinance for short-term rentals, commonly referred to these days as STR. As Johanna Neiden, the Director of Community Development, is approaching the podium, she has a presentation to provide. I'm going to give a brief overview. Community Development, along with the Corporation Council and the Legal Department, have been working on restructuring short-term rentals within the village based on prior board discussions. Village staff recommends that the board authorize the attached ordinance to regulate short-term rentals through a license process, balancing the neighborhood preservation with community-serving uses. We've heard numerous incidences where the neighborhoods have been negatively impacted by this use. The ordinance reflects discussions from the September 15th Village Board meeting. I concur with staff's recommendation and respectfully request board approval to adopt the ordinance for short-term rentals. And now we'll turn it over to Johanna Nyden to provide an overview.
Good evening. Okay, so launch right into, we had a couple questions today. Why regulate this? You know, the old adage, if it's not broken, why fix it? There's some feelings that things are going okay, but there's also some feelings that have bubbled up over the past year and a half as we've navigated through what this would mean for Skokie. So two big reasons. One, life safety, first and foremost, making sure that these homes that are built for us to live in can be safe for people to visit. We all know kind of the ins and outs of our own homes, of residential property you might reside in. But as a visitor who's there for a short time, you may not know, and they want to, you know, people come to Skokie, they want to feel safe, and we want people to be safe. So making sure that things like working smoke detectors, proper egress, the number of sleeping rooms, the number of how many people can be in a space, those occupancy limits are established. So first and foremost, there's a life safety component here. The second piece is neighborhood livability. We heard a lot of comments and a lot of feedback about making sure that we're preserving our residential neighborhoods, the residential character. So we talked about limiting the number of units on block face and within the block. But also we do a lot of our communication through residential channels, through people who live here. So making sure that there's clear communication to the people who might be visiting, creates that clear line of communication of local ordinances, like where people can park, where trash goes, rules that people may not be familiar with, the nuances of things that happen in Skokie. And finally, it creates accountability and enforcement when things don't go the way that they're supposed to. We hear a lot of, oh, these exist peacefully in our neighborhood, they're great because I was doing this project and I needed to move out of my house, or I have my parents came and stayed with me for 2 weeks and I didn't want them in my house, but they could stay 2 blocks over. We hear those kind of stories. Those are good stories and we like those, but there's some stories that we've heard that haven't been so great. So we want to make sure that there's an opportunity to provide accountability and enforce when things don't go the way they're supposed to go. What's in the ordinance looks a lot like the things that we've talked about. We've created an eligibility. Only owner-occupied short-term rentals, STRs, are allowed. And to be an owner-occupied STR, that has to be your primary and legal residence. You can you're out of town, you leave for the week, you can let your home through the STR process, but you have to be the owner and you have to live there. Investor-owned units are permitted under this ordinance as grandfathered. If you are in existence, many of our units have been already registered as rental registrations through the village's normal rental registration process. If you are already, and we know there are many that have already been registered as a rental in the village, those are grandfathered in and they can continue to operate. We're suggesting a 7 consecutive day minimum stay to again meet the needs of the longer term stays and the things that we've heard from people as we've gone through this process. We talked about limited to one per block face or block to limit the distribution in a block, so we can continue to preserve the residential character. We're offering the initial operator license. There's 2 pieces: operator license, owner license, and then the unit registration. So each operator would have to be owner of an STR would have to be licensed, and there's a fee associated with that. And then there's different tiers for the registration of the unit. So if you're an owner-occupied STR, there's a registration for that first year, and then the investor STR, a separate registration. And we're tiering it within the first year and years after. We're thinking we're going to have to spend more time to get the unit up and running, to inspect, to visit, to monitor, to make sure that they're complying with our rules. So that's going to be a little bit more staff-intensive time. So again, recommendations: 12-month probationary period, no more than 12 stays during this probationary period. License required. You have to complete a training. We would offer those every other month or more frequently if we need to. It would be similar to our landlord registration training, but this would be more tailored to addressing short-term rental issues. We have heard some best practices from other communities, how we would plug that in. We'd make that Skokie specific for registration. Each unit would be registered after it completes an inspection. That would include community development, fire, and any other applicable department within the village that would complete that. And then after the probation period, assuming that they're in compliance with all the local codes and we've not had any complaints, they would be allowed to expand their stays to 18 stays in that calendar year. Same thing, annual license and registration renewal, and completion of a training program. We're recommending that this would be a requirement for every year that the STR operators would go through a training program each year. And we would do an annual inspection to make sure that they continued to stay up to code. Next steps, we would work to obtain an STR management tool. Again, we've heard best practices. It's good to be able to utilize tools to figure out how many STRs they pop up. There's lots of different tools that are used in the marketplace, and probably many of us have used them to book to find the best options. There's a lot of nuances to them, but we would partner with probably an existing provider to add this module on, and then be able to determine where our new STRs are, and then provide, if this ordinance is adopted, provide notice and communication to all the operators and make sure that they come into compliance, whether they've already been in existence as a registered rental unit, or if they're a new STR, we'd work with them to communicate the new rules, conduct the training and inspection, and hopefully there's no violations, but we would be prepared to move forward with those if we had to. So I breezed through that pretty quickly. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions for either Ms. Nyden or Village Manager Lockerbie from the board? Trustee Schechter.
Thank you very much, Johanna. I think this is definitely an improvement on what we saw 4 months ago, but I have a number of questions, but the first question I have is the complaints that we've gotten about STRs. What kinds have they been? The investor owned? Have they been the owner occupant? Have they been stays of short? Can you just describe the most prevalent complaints?
Sure. So since I joined the village, the complaints that are largely investor owned, or they're homes that had once been in a family, so there's kind of a known entity associated with the home, but they don't live there anymore, and so they're renting it out as a short-term rental. The complaints have been parking concerns. There's too many cars taking up the parking spots. There's been issues of where the trash is going to go. Trash, if somebody has people over, they just don't know where the trash goes, so they leave it out. There's been some concerns that STRs, the advertisement doesn't show where they're supposed to go, so they come to a block and they don't know where to go, and they've gone to the wrong home. So we've had that complaint come up. So there's just been things that probably fall under the people don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they're supposed to move their car when there's snow. Things like that. Those things bubble up, and they're frustrated that the operator isn't communicating that to their visitors.
So if the majority, I'm just trying to get at, the nature, the type of complaint, but also the type of ownership, and if the investor owned or the problems, why would we want to grandfather them? Or they're also registered as rental units?
Some of them.
I mean, it's a little bit confusing.
Sure. So when this has come up, we don't have some communities have short-term rental. So what we decided, or what had been decided prior to my arrival, was these would be treated, they're renting, they're not owner occupied, so they'd be treated as rentals, because some of them have presented, I do a short-term rental, but I might give somebody the lease for 3 months, and so that's not a short-term rental, that's more than 30 days. So there's been a little bit of a gray area in terms of how we handle these.
And actually, and another question, in the definitions, looking at the ordinance, we don't actually have a definition of what exactly what does that mean to be, quote, permanent and primary resident? Are we going to ask people to show us their, Cook County homeowner exemption? I mean, shouldn't we have a definition of what that means to be a permanent and primary?
I'm gonna look
To
see. We did
have this
talk
as your
about
permanent
this.
and primary residence?
I think it's demonstration that you are the record title holder. Yeah, proof of ownership and residence. A licensee registered as an unhosted or hosted, it's under section 26-134. A licensee registering an unhosted or hosted STR must include documentation satisfactory to the village to demonstrate that The licensee is the record title holder or beneficial owner of the property containing the dwelling. And the property containing the dwelling proposed to be used as an STR is the licensee's permanent legal primary residence.
Okay, good, that's good. The other concern, I had brought this up at the last meeting, is about multifamily residences and the concerns about privacy. And it had been suggested to me by an attorney who's done a lot of work on SDRs, that if there's going to be one in a multifamily building, they should have their own entrance and exit, and they're not, imposing on the common areas where all other residents are there.
Sure. So we did, that is, a separate entrance is not addressed in multifamily, but we don't allow anybody who's in a rental. So if you are renting a unit, you can't turn that home as your tenant, as a tenant, into an STR. You can't say, I'm gonna be gone for the weekend, I'm gonna post on Airbnb and let that unit. So we've made it pretty narrow for multifamily buildings to be able to register units. Many of our multifamily buildings are rental, and then for the ones that are condominiums, we put pretty strict parameters on. They have to the condo has to show that they allow that kind of use there in their bylaws.
That they would allow a 7-day.
Less than 30 days.
Less than 30 days, but no less than 7 days, right? I didn't see that here, but if we're saying that it's a 7-day
I don't know that we're
thing-
gonna give guidance to condos, what they wanna do, but if they're gonna allow, they have to demonstrate that we're considering an STR anything less than 30 days.
And I'm sorry, I have one other question, and then I'll, because I think this will be of interest to everybody here, is do we also regulate here the occupancy? Like, if somebody's gonna register their unit, that we're looking at things like, 2 persons per bedroom. I mean, I know we have a code about maximum occupancy. Is that also regulated?
So that would be, I can't find it as quickly as I just found the last one, but but that would be, that is the goal of this, that we would be, under inspections, they would be indicating how many people are allowed in the sleeping rooms, and based on the square footage of the building. And particularly to make it clear, because one of the complaints, I don't recall if it was an owner occupied or a investor STR, but there were concerns that there were sleeping rooms in areas of the home that were not accessible to a proper egress. So whether those were below grade or upper floors, those are things that are of deep concern to us.
Before we go on to other questions, I would like to just piggyback, because a lot of the complaints about STRs have come directly to my office. And when Ms. Nyden talks about, there's signage that isn't clear, and folks who are renting STRs are coming to the block and they can't find it and going to the wrong properties, that's happening at all hours of the day and night. And there's been some persistence. So it is, the residents I've heard from, it's quite a disruption. I think you might have mentioned, I think Ms. Nyden might have mentioned, among the guidelines that will require, as of late, I've had a couple of complaints about STR renters not understanding about alternate side parking. So that has been an impediment to the block. It's important that we have alternate side parking so that our streets can be plowed from curb to curb to allow proper access for emergency vehicles. So that's something that, under this ordinance, they would be required to do. Did you have something you wanted to add, John? There was at one point I thought you were.
I was just going to add a little bit to the conversation of the village has a neighborhood integrity ordinance that regulates the rentals for more than 30 days, and then we're talking about short-term rentals. So I just wanted to use that language that we have the neighborhood integrity ordinance that we were speaking of.
Other questions from the board? Trustee Iverson and then Trustee Robinson.
Yeah, I just wanted a quick follow up on what the mayor was just discussing with regards to the many complaints that we've already seen with the limited number of STRs that are currently in the village. In particular, people who are confused as to which unit is even the unit, or people who don't know the rules, don't know where to put out the garbage. So if I understand correctly in the way you've structured the ordinance, it's going to be part of the process that people who are going to be leasing, short-term, are going to be, there's going to be a process that's going to inform them exactly what the unit is, exactly what the penalty is if you don't do the garbage correctly, et cetera.
Yeah, and to follow up the issue with one that many of us have received, our code will now require photographs of the front of the premises to which the STR is located, clearly showing the street address and the premise meant to be the entry for registered STR. So
Great.
we're really trying to get to those issues.
Excellent.
And so the garbage and the alternate, all those will be not only just covered in the training, but they'll have to show in the unit that they're putting that information forth to the guest, so people know this.
Nice.
Did you have something else, Trustee Iverson? Go ahead, please.
Okay, on grandfathered, investor-owned, why are we grandfathering them? Is it an option just to not grandfather them? And if it is an option, why aren't we taking that?
Okay, so there's been interest and concern. We've heard from some of the people who've come to the board or have shared outside of the board to staff that they've operated a quiet Airbnb. They've been doing nobody's complained. They have good relationships. They're doing the good things. So there's been a little bit of, oh no, we want this here because this is part of our neighborhood fabric. So there's that concern, but also balancing with the concern that there's some that are not acting in the best possible way to create in the spirit of our neighborhood integrity ordinance. So we're trying to balance those and give a pathway for those if the board so chooses to move forward with the grandfathering in some of them. This is a new concept. This is to the village. This is a new code. So there are opportunities to not do that if that is the desire of the board.
Thank you, Director. I really like that answer. Do you mind if I just do a couple quick more? The fees are high. The fees are high. I mean, just as I'm adding the money up, it seems like it'll affect people a great deal if they want to do this, as a lessor. How did you arrive at the fees, and how do you expect them to work for people?
So this is not a this is labor intensive from a staff perspective. There's a lot more inspections. There's software to add to the tools. It's not just my time or an inspector's time or the fire department's. There's a lot of people in the food chain of local government that need to participate in making sure that this is working the way. We have to make sure that we're collecting the taxes. So there's somebody who makes sure that we're collecting the taxes. Just like it all is kind of baked in. And when you start to account for their time, it very closely matches what we might get in revenue from these STRs.
Excellent, thank you. A couple really quick. First, on one per block, per block face. That's first come, first served?
So for new STRs, yes, but we also have included provision if there are two that have been operating on the block face that have followed the rules that are quote grandfathered in, that they would continue to be allowed, but they can't be transferred. So you can't sell your home as an STR. Your home selling these are non-transferable.
But as long as I have it, and everyone else on the block is iced out.
As long as you have it and stay in good standing with the village.
Okay, all right. The last question I have is the management tool that you referenced. Is that something you already have, or is that something you're just conceiving?
There's a lot of tools in the marketplace to manage this. I think we have to do a little bit more testing to make sure it's the right one that fits with the existing software that the village has. And I'm not going to pretend to play the IT director, but there's ways we have to make sure that it interfaces with the existing tools we have so we're not creating an extra step for ourselves.
Excellent, yeah, I think that'll be a super important part of the, making it work. Thank you very much, Director.
Trustee Robinson.
Thank you. First of all, I know it took forever to do this. We've been talking about it for a long time. Thanks for putting it on paper. Makes a lot of sense. I think there's been some great questions, and you guys have asked some of the ones that I wanted to bring up. So what I'm hearing is, and what I've heard, public comments, letters written to the board, a lot of people are still in favor, and some are not in favor. And the ones who are in favor have talked about it being an opportunity for income, you know, an opportunity to have celebrations in town that's close to a place of worship for a large family. But then there's the other end. There are parties that are unsupervised, unregulated, disruption, disturbances. So there's a lot of complicated things that I think is being considered. I love how it's written. The one thing that I'm interested in before it's codified, because I know how things are when we codify the language, I'm wondering if there's an appetite to look at this as a pilot and to use exactly what we have on paper, follow it as it's written, after the season of rentals and celebrations, maybe down in October, to kind of look at where we are, learn from what has happened, note where the disruptions are, the concern, make tweaks in it if necessary, and then codify it into an ordinance.
So I'm going to jump in. I think from a process standpoint, there is a path to do it. I think it's an interesting idea. I would suggest that we need longer than October. I would suggest minimum of 12 months. I mean, truly, I'd like 24 months, but I think minimum of 12 months, possibly 18 months. I think to really see how it's going to shake out. And I think to your point, Trustee Robinson, what we're trying to do here is to give those who are investor owners the opportunity to have those investments and be good neighbors. Mm-hmm. The way the ordinance is written, what I asked staff to do with this was to adopt the mindset that this is very similar to the way we license, we handle liquor licensure. That it's, to me, there's nothing more important than protecting the integrity of our residential neighborhoods. So for the investor owners, when they see the heft of the fines, when they see the process for revocation, we will take all of that very seriously, and we would hope and expect that if they want to continue operating in one of our neighborhoods, that they will abide by the rules. So I, for one, and I welcome thoughts from our colleagues, I'm not averse to a pilot, but I would say that I believe 18 months is probably the sweet spot.
Yeah, I was looking for a minimum, but yeah, I think more time.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'm going to go to Trustee Pierce. Let me stop for just a moment. You're done? Okay. Trustee Pierce-Slovan, and then we'll go back to Trustee Schechter.
Thank you, Mayor. And a lot of questions were already asked, but I want to make some comments, and I think it's perfect that my comments follow Trustee Robinson and then Mayor Tennis, because on some of this I completely agree. I have no problem with the life safety, no problem with limiting per block. But I did have an issue, I guess, or concern about investor-owned STRs. I do believe we should still allow them, and I absolutely don't agree with the 7 consecutive days, because I believe, as Trustee Robinson pointed out, a lot of them are used for religious reasons, or people are here for a wedding, et cetera, and I think 7 days is a burden on the families that need to rent them. What I'm hearing from what the mayor said and what you said is that a lot of people are concerned, and I do agree, that they're getting knocks at the wrong places, et cetera. So it sounds like you've already solved that by saying there should be pictures. I rent Airbnbs, so I understand that. They send a picture. It is very clear where I need to be in other locations. And I think that the regulations, communications, rules, training is the way to continue with this. I don't think that we should penalize people who want to invest in an STR here when we've had a wonderful experiences as well. So I think that there is a healthy balance in how we do this. And so maybe that would be that we don't codify it as suggested, and that we look at this and to see how it plays out in the next 12 or 18 months, whatever we decide upon. But even with that, I really feel very strongly, and I've heard from many people who feel very strongly, that it should be 5 consecutive days, like a long weekend versus an entire week. If you're in for a wedding or you're in for Thanksgiving, you don't need to be here for a solid week. And that would be something that I'd like us to consider. But again, the training, I think, is an excellent idea. The ordinances are an excellent idea. Unfortunately, if we have to hold people's hands and show them the rules that they need to leave in their STR, then that's what we have to do. But I've never been in a situation personally that I have rented on STR that they don't have a Bible, so to speak, a book of what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, et cetera. So I think we're going off to a good start, but I don't think we've hit the mark yet. Thank you.
I think 5 days could be a reasonable compromise. I do. I think what that does, it's not quite as long as the 7 days, obviously, but yet I think it will speak to the weekend party rentals. I'm not talking about folks who are here to attend parties, but that are hosting parties. I think that 5 days will speak to that. Trustee Schechter.
Yeah, I like Trustee Robinson's idea of a sort of trial or period of some kind, and probably a year is a good idea. I'm really concerned that it's not mentioned anywhere in the memo or in the draft ordinance that one of the reasons that we need to regulate short-term rentals is we don't want to lose our affordable housing stock. I mean, there have been numerous studies that have been done that have shown that if you let STRs run amok, it takes rentals out of the market, or, small homes, and turns them into, it takes residential and turns it into commercial. And so I think we have to regulate that, and that's why I have to say I differ a little bit on the investor-owned STR. I know we have these 3 definitions, right? The unhosted STR. So it's your primary dwelling. You don't occupy the dwelling during the short-term period. And then the investor-owned is not occupied by the licensee as a resident and is utilized solely to generate rental income. I have to say I am against that. I don't know how. I mean, I think it would be a good question. A lot of people have asked me, when I've tried to get get feedback, they've asked me, how many do we have of STRs? And I know that you had said last time, I think you said 20, but then there's maybe 15 to 30 investor-owned, but it's not clear. And then that gets me to another question, which is, if we do this, can we have a publicly accessible database where residents can see there's the STRs that are available in the village, so everybody knows where they are?
Interesting. I'm going to jump in. Interesting. I think we're going to need council's advice on that one. I'm not sure. We're going to have to look into the legality of it.
Well, also, if we're regulating one per block, I think people would want to know where it is. Mm-hmm. But I am concerned about the affordable housing impact and these investor-owned, and are you saying that we'll freeze what we currently, when you say grandfather the investor-owned, does that mean that we can't get any new ones? It's just the ones that So those investors can't get another property and keep doing it.
What we have now is it. There are no more.
And that investor can't go out and get more properties.
No. No.
I have a comment, if I may.
Hello, Trustee Lissa Levy, voice from beyond the far. Yes.
So one of the things that first of all, I think all these questions have been great. I am so grateful to staff for this work. One of the things that I want to be really, really careful about and want to address is that we need to take action on this rather quickly. We have some very distressed community members. And so I love the idea of a pilot. I love that we're engaging in robust debate, but I also don't want to kick this can down the road too much further because we really, we really need to take care of the residents. And I think we all know who we're talking about right now, but, we need to be able to give some residents some recourse. So those are my comments. I don't know, if we can hash out the differences that we have right now, so that we can get to a place where we can feel good about voting on this, or what the proposals, how quickly we can rework this again if we are going to rework this again. So I guess I'd like to hear everybody else's thoughts about how quickly we can move on getting something on the books.
So I've just conferred with council, forgive me. But what we would need to do, so it is up for adoption tonight. However, talk about the possible pilot period and then adjusting to 5 days rather than 7. What we can do is direct staff working with council to amend, and then we would adopt it at our February 2nd meeting. So that's how that would work. But for those changes, we could do it tonight.
Okay, so we can adopt tonight and amend later?
Well, we can't adopt tonight. I'm going to let our attorney speak, if he would.
Yes, please.
So the packet tonight, under the village manager's report, contains a draft ordinance, and this is the second time that an ordinance has been presented to the city council. This ordinance contemplates this being codified. It contemplates amendments to the business licensing, to the fee chapter, and then also amendments to the hotel motel tax. If the intention or the consensus from the board is to kind of pare this down to an 18-month pilot program that adopts a lot of these regulations, but makes certain changes, including reducing the maximum stay to 5 days instead of 7, we would still want to have a week to put this in a format that this is more of a freestanding ordinance that is not intended to be codified, that would basically have its own sunset, that you would have a chance to review at a time, and the direction would be provided by a motion tonight from one of you, to bring it back in 12 months, 18 months, or whatever, and then consider integrating it into the actual code itself. That would, if that's the consensus from the board, that's how we would recommend doing it. So we would have an actual revised ordinance brought back to you in 2 weeks for adoption.
Okay. Yes, Trustee Pierce-Lova.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you. I understood you. I would like to suggest that we consider that we do a review at 6/12 and final 18. I don't want to wait 18 months to hear how the ordinance is going, to see if there's been any concerns. A report of some sort, just so that we are monitoring it, that we are, if some guidelines, so that we can make an educated decision at the end.
I fully support that. That could be done just by staff. We could have a 6-month report. I think we've done that with a couple other things. We could have a 6-month report, 12-month report. Question for council: if let's say, we go with an 18-month pilot. If at the six-month or 12-month junctures, there are concerns, can we make we can make changes at that time, can't we? We don't have to, are we bound to that 18 months before making changes?
No, I think what we would do is we would build in enough fair warnings that this is a provisional program, that any license or registration granted does not create a vested right beyond the 12 months, or beyond the 6 or 12 months or 18 months. I think the important thing is that in the same way that this ordinance is drafted, if any particular licensee does not comply with the requirements, there is a expedited process for suspension and revocation of that license. So if the concern is that you have one investor-owned STR that is turning into a party house, that is not something that has to go to administrative adjudication, and there doesn't have to be a series of warnings and tickets, especially if there's a sense that there is a danger to public health. There is similar, and this is actually in your code already for most licenses, and I don't know how often it's used, but the village manager can conduct a hearing and revoke an ordinance. Now, that is appealable to the board. That may not be used very often, and the village may prefer to use its administrative adjudication, but that option is there. So rather than, saying that we're going to cut off this after 6 months and shut it all down, if there's concerns about specific operators, this and the ordinance that we will bring back will still have those powers to address specific operators.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's important. Okay, anything else from the board? Trustee Robinson.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with, I like that idea of having a 6, 12, and 18-month benchmark.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an action-oriented report.
Just a report.
Status report.
Yeah.
Just to see where we are, what's going on, how
Right.
things are going. It will inform eventually our ultimate decision, but I don't think it's necessary to have a decision made at each of those checkpoints.
Agreed, yep, and that's how we'll proceed. Trustee Schechter and did you have something else, Trustee Pierce-Slovan?
No, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Schechter, and then we're going to open it up for community
I
comments.
just had a question for council. One concern that I had is the fine for a first violation is $500. That seems really low. Is that typical or maybe Director Nyden? It just seems to me, it's like, it's expensive to get into it, but if you're a miscreant, it's not all that expensive to pay for a first violation. I was just wondering about that amount.
So we increased these are increased specifically for this. So this is higher than normal fees for violations. So there's that. But think about some of the violations. You don't post a picture of the front door of your property. That's a violation of this ordinance. So that could be $500. So that's an expensive picture to miss in your listing. So I think that each violation is subject to the fine. So it's not like you did a lot of bad things. You could get multiple violations across the board. So these
Okay.
things can add up, and some of these, these can be per day. So if you are out of conformance, I mean, this can stack up quite high.
Trustee Schechter, these are akin to fines for infractions of liquor licenses.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yep.
But I do want to say, I mean, I'm favorable to all of the sort of amendments that have been discussed here, but I do have concerns about the investor-owned, the multifamily, and I would like to see STRs not allowed in multifamily buildings where the unit being used doesn't have its own entrance.
Yeah, and I think this was explained, so let's stay with that. STRs are not allowed in rental buildings. So if you're renting an apartment, you're going away for the weekend and you want to rent your unit out, you can't. And then in condos, they have their own rules and regulations. It's up to those condo boards to do that work. I know, council, village manager, anything from either of you?
There aren't many multifamily buildings with independent entrances. And so if the intent is to prohibit these in multifamily buildings, then that's one way to do it, but that's the end result.
I was thinking more like, you know, a townhome or something like that where they have their own, or row house.
Oh, no, for sure, those have their own entrance, but all of our condominium buildings would be excluded.
And just to clarify again with the grandfathering, all of the ones where we've heard from a number of people here about problems, if we've had violations, they're not grandfathered?
So they are grandfathered. They are. They will be subject to the full effect of this new freestanding ordinance. And if they would continue to operate in the way that we've heard, they would quickly lose their license.
And last thing, promise, we have the staff capacity to do this enforcement on top of all the other enforcement?
Defer to the village manager.
The building department is under review currently by an outside consultant, and so I imagine that there's going to be recommendations for additional staff to be able to provide the services that we're currently providing. And so I don't want to say that what is being presented here can be completely absorbed with existing staff, because I anticipate there's going to be additional staff needed.
But not just for this, it would be for other enforcement as well.
Correct.
Right. Okay. All right, we will now close our board comment. We'll open it up for comments from the community. We will have time for up to 5 speakers. Each speaker will receive a precise 3 minutes. Mr. Oskin.
I would hope that you would consider not grandfathering in any of the STRs, that everybody applies to the beginning and that they all go through the same process. I would also ask you to keep the 7 days. I think that the 7-day minimum is good as a starting point. I have an Airbnb across the street from me. My neighbors have had to install privacy drapes and curtains because of the young teenage girls that are living in the homes that are next door to the dwelling. The dwelling also has run a illegal car repair and detailing shop in the business out of the garage, out of the same owner in the neighborhood. I have been awakened all times of the day and evening while I've been in my pajamas for deliveries of Amazon to the dwelling that is across the street from me. People don't speak English. People are coming from out of the country. They're not abiding by the rules and regulations of our community. It is a strain on my community. We have long-term rentals on my block besides the short-term rental on my block. It is a hindrance and a problem for our community, and I hope that you take this regulation seriously on how it is affecting us and our community in Skokie. If the marketing and advertising for the STRs is not put as a part of the regulation where they have to submit the marketing to the regulatory body of Skokie, people are going to continue to market and advertise for whatever amount of time that they wish to market for, whether it's 3 days, 5 days, 4 days, whatever amount of time is that they wish to rent the STR. The people who have been in the STRs don't know the person who is renting to them. I've asked them to contact the people from the, who are renting. They don't live in our community, they live in another village. They only come and clean up and do things to deliver people in vans with their suitcases coming and going. It is a significant problem that I'm hoping that you'll take it very seriously and not grandfather people in.
Thank you. Ms. Grodnicki.
I would like to ask you not to vote on this tonight, but to send it back, because there are so many issues that have come up, and it's gone back and forth around the board, and I know trustee Lissa Levy had said, look, we need to act on this soon, but maybe have like a emergency working group on this of Skokie residents, and you have to be a resident of Skokie in order to be on the working group, because otherwise you're not necessarily going to be deliberately impacted or directly impacted by this, even if it is your rental property. I know for a fact, and I can get into that individually with you if you want, that a lot of people who are renting homes in Skokie are not following all of the registration rules, and there's no reason to think that people are going to do this short-term rental thing by the book. Then it's hard enough to get the people who live here and do this on a regular basis to separate their waste streams properly. And like, you know, that's what I do with other Skokie residents. And having somebody who has no idea how our recycling works and no idea how our composting works, I guarantee that they are putting in a lot of contamination. And if they're doing it for parties, there's probably a lot of extra waste anyway. At the very least, let's have it be that you weigh their waste when they leave, and if it's bigger than the average of the people on that block, you charge them extra for it because we're paying by the ton at the tipping station. And then in terms of condo buildings, we have a condo, and one of the residents was mugged for her keys and her wallet, which meant that the mugger had the address of where those keys would enter. And there's one front door and there's one back door. And we all had to get new keys for the external doors of the building. So imagine you're living in one of these buildings where the only way in or out is through the main vestibule door. I wouldn't want to live in a building where my neighbor is renting it out. And our condo building just passed something saying, you may not do this. You can't rent for less than 30 days. So if we're going to allow condo buildings to do it at all, if they don't have individual entrance and egress, then ask the condo associations individually to directly pass this, or say that you can't do it in a condo until your association passes this. I have a lot of other things to say about this, but I'm running out of time, so please, let's just put our heads together a little bit longer so that we can get this right. I mean, I really like the idea of having it be a trial period and have it sunset at 18 months, and before that, there are reviews and checks and adjustments so that at the end, when it does sunset, there's something else ready to go that's actually going to work. Thank you.
Ms. Grodnicki, to clarify, the language as written does not allow STRs. In order for someone who owns a condo to register, to have an STR, they have to show proof that their condo association allows it. Mr. Dalka.
Good evening. I rise to support the previous speaker's comments on delaying this action. I think the one thing for block rule doesn't think through all the potential issues. I understand what the intent that you're trying to do with this is to get rid of professional investors from taking over the housing inventory of the village of Skokie, and I applaud and agree with that completely. However, there are situations where people might need to, due to financial necessity, rent their things out. If a breadwinner in a house lost a job and they moved back in with, either spouse's parents or something like that and needed to rent it while they were selling the house, that would be there. For 2 years, I had a vacant house behind us at 9329 Lawn, which you've heard me talk about several times. Thankfully, it's being renovated right now, but, you know, would that have been better with income that would have helped the tax rolls rather than being vacant purely for 2 years? What if somebody gets a job in another city and relocates that city and can't sell the house right away? There's a lot of situations where somebody might, who'd never dreamed of doing that, might need to do it on a short-term basis. They wouldn't be looking to do it for 30 years, but they might need to do it for 6 months or a year or 18 months. And right now, the way this reads doesn't allow those people a voice, mostly because they also don't know that they would ever need it. You know, so that's issue one. Issue two, I rise to discuss is something that, Madam Mayor, you agreed with me on vociferously last year, but I've seen no evidence that we've made progress on it, and that's about the issue of address signage. The Village Property Standards Code clearly states that all addresses are supposed to have front and back address codes. We're in compliance with that. At 9330 Laurel, we have a sign on the back garage. We have a sign on the front porch. I actually keep the light on the front porch on all the time because in 2024, we actually had an incident where a delivery driver came to the wrong house from somebody else's house that wasn't marked properly, it wasn't lit properly. And my mother opened the door and she ended up wandering because of it. I mean, this stuff is serious. Yet we continue, after months and months of discussion about property standards, I can think of at least 3 houses within 100 yards of us that don't have those things in code right now. So what I'd like to ask is that we double down on actually enforcing the existing codes before we start making new laws that can't be enforced. We can't enforce the ordinances we have now. I need your help. I ask for your assistance in getting every house to have proper addresses.
Mr. Dalkett, thank you. Your time is up. Yes.
Hi, Matt Jarvis from Skokie again. Try to keep it brief. The issue that I would have kind of echoes what Jim Iverson was getting at earlier was about the pinch from the fees. You know, while they should be high enough to cover the costs of running this program, you know, it's also showed that there was a probationary period and a cap at the number of stays per year. I think that's going to be a hard pinch for anybody running one of these STRs to, you know, make it worth any while at all. There's nobody who's registering their house for $2,200 a year to rent it out for a week as they go away on vacation. I mean, this is essentially targeted at maybe snowbirders. I don't know who else would be able to afford the registration fees on top of whatever potential income they might receive. I feel like it's probably capped to reduce a sense of transience. I mean, I can understand that, but you know, especially if you're reducing the number of days to 5 days and you're maxing out at 18 stays per year. I mean, do you really want that house to be sitting empty, you know, 80% of the time? I don't think that's an effective use of the neighborhood stock either. I would agree that some sort of a cap on investor-owned properties, either per neighborhood or village-wide, should be taken into account, and maybe that's something that's assessed after the trial period. Because I don't think anybody's, you know, is going to be purchasing properties for the purpose of an investor-owned STR at this time during a pilot, you know, period, because they're not going to really know what's going to happen after the pilot. So I don't see the number of properties expanding dramatically during this period. So that was, yeah, essentially it's the cap on the number of stays I think is going to be problematic to anybody who is an existing renter already. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarvis. Before Mr. Calabac approaches, Mr. Shah, we allow up to 5 speakers per agenda item. Mr. Calabac, who's in front of you, is our 5th speaker and final speaker before we go into our deliberation. Thank you. Didn't want you to have to stand there. Mr. Calabac.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Gordon Calabac from the 8600 block of Springfield Avenue. I wanted to start by showing a video of a wedding that was held at the Airbnb next door to me. Since I can't project it, I guess I'll just kind of show it on my phone and hope you can see it. As you could, and you probably can't see it, but I can tell you there's about 50 people there. Can I play the sound or no?
Yes. Please do, and if you'd kind of put it by the microphone. Stop the clock.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Very loud wedding, over 50 people, single-family home on the 8600 block of Springfield. I know some members of the board spoke about weddings and celebrations in a positive light. Truth is, the ones that I've seen next door to me have no place on a residential block like mine. Now, I do want to say, this is just one of many examples of disruptive activities that occur at this single-family home next door to me. This home now effectively operates as a hotel, a party house, and a wedding venue. I do want to thank the village, the mayor, and the board for drafting a much-needed ordinance to address the serious issue of short-term rentals in Skokie. While I do appreciate the proposal outlined in the ordinance, I have significant concerns about the grandfather clause. The grandfather clause would mean for my family situation is that I worry it would be largely unchanged. The investor who owns the property would be exempt from the occupancy requirements, allowing the disruption to continue. While the ordinance offers protection for future neighbors of short-term rentals, the grandfather clause leaves current residents like myself, those who have been enduring the conditions the longest, without this relief. All right, and I feel like we kind of deserve it the most because I've been dealing with this for years, right? Especially if we're talking about reducing the minimum stay to 5 days, I don't see a lot of impact benefiting me in my situation. So I'd like to respectfully urge the board to prioritize the residents of Skokie and families raising young children when evaluating this ordinance. Please carefully reconsider the grandfather clause. I would love to see a cap on the number of stays permitted in a given year. I don't believe that's in the ordinance currently, correct me if I'm wrong. Because as far as I understand it, in the current proposal, people like myself will be subjected to 52 different guests in a given year, 52 different people coming and going. That's still a lot, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. A couple points of clarification. The grandfather clause does not mean that existing investor-owned or any STR are not subject to all of the rules and regulations in what will be this new freestanding ordinance. They are, so they will have to abide by, they'll have to pay the registration fees, they'll have to abide by the occupancy, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to just clear that up, that they will be subject to everything that's in this new language. There are caps on per year. Where is Ms. Knight and?
It's 18, it's 12 during the probationary
thank you.
period and then
Yep.
18 thereafter.
So 12 during the probationary period, 18 beyond. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll close public comment. I would ask for a motion from one of the trustees to direct staff, request staff, develop a freestanding ordinance that would reflect an 18-month pilot period with written reports to the board at the 6-month and 12-month junctures, and to modify the minimum stay from 7 days to 5 days. Is there a motion? And that would come back to the board for consideration on February 2nd. Trustee Robinson?
So move.
Thank you.
Will we add 6, 12, and 18?
Yeah, so it's an 18-month pilot.
Right.
With check-ins at 6 months and 12 months.
And a full report at the 18th.
Full report, yeah, the pilot will sunset at 18 months.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second? trustee Pierce Slovan. Will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, no, we closed our discussion. We closed our discussion.
Any motion to, a properly made motion to direct staff would be subject to some
Okay,
debate.
so we have a motion and a second. We've already had an abundance of discussion. What is the point, please?
Well, I am concerned that there's a lot of changes to this that, you know, I'm mindful of what Ms. Grodnicki said. Can we spend a little bit more time, like, delving into this? I'm also very concerned on the investor-owned. I'm not clear on how many we're talking about that were grandfathered. Are they the ones that are the most, that we're getting the most complaints about? If they're the ones that we're getting most complaints about, like, that would influence me in wanting to exclude them from this, so that's just my question.
So what we will do is it will come back to us on February 2nd, and we can have it as a discussion item then. But I'd like to remind everyone that we started talking about this late in the summer. This has been before this board twice, and we've had an abundance of communication from residents in the community. So I believe that it is our duty to have this put into place. Again, it's going to be a freestanding ordinance. It's not going to be codified. But I believe it's our obligation to have that happen as soon as possible. So, again, it's a pilot period. To be clear, those that are investor-owned, they will be, from the time it's codified, they will be subject to everything in here. And if they are not willing to follow the rules and do so in short order, they will lose their license. They will pay hefty fines and lose their licenses in short order. Okay, so with that said, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy? Aye. Trustee Pierce Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
I'm only voting aye because it'll be reviewed within my tenure.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes.
So items B, C, and D were approved as part of tonight's consent agenda, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Lockerbie. The next item on the agenda is the report of our Corporation Counsel by Mr. Stuart Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. The one item on the Corporation Council report was also on consent. That was the resolution regarding the approval and release of closed session minutes in accordance with the provisions of the Open Meeting Act. That has been approved, and the resolution that is in the packet clearly indicates which of the minutes have been approved, which ones have been approved for availability to the public, and which ones the City Council has determined should remain confidential pursuant to the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. And that concludes my presentation, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. It's good to have you with us tonight. Appreciate it. We now go into new business, which is a modified review report by Plan Commission Chairperson Paul Luke, and I see Ms. Neiden is in the wings, related to the proposed development at 5202 to 5250 Old Orchard Road. Chairperson Luke.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. In accordance with the village code, the Corporation Council, the Community Development Director, and myself reviewed this request. It was our opinion that the modification to the site is in substantial compliance with the intent of the original site plan approval. In summary, the village received a request from 5250 Old Orchard LLC to amend ordinance 24-4-Zebra 4683 through the modified review procedure. On April 15th, 2024, Zeller OOT LLC received approval for from the village board for a site plan approval for a mixed-use development at 5202 and 5250 Old Orchard Road in the OR Office Research District. The site plan approval authorized the adaptive reuse by conversion of two existing 7-story office buildings at 5202 and 5250 Old Orchard Road to include office space and 245 residential units. Conversion of the upper deck of the existing parking garage into a partial recreational green space, amenity space for residential tenants, the addition of EV charging stations within the garage, the retention of the existing clinic at 5230 Old Orchard Road. While the affordable housing ordinance was not adapted at that time, the developer agreed to designate 5% of the units in the south tower as affordable housing at 120% AMI for 25 years. The petitioner was granted ownership of the subject site by special warranty deed on March 21st, 2024. As current owner, the petitioner is requesting to amend the approved site plan, approved landscaping plan, and the building elevation, and is also requesting that the Board of Trustees waive the requirements of Section 95.5 to the village's subdivision ordinance, and the requirement to prepare and record a new plat of subdivision or re-subdivision related to petitioner's interest in conveying lot number 2 to 5250 Old Orchard Apartments LLC. They proposed revisions to the site plan, landscaping plan, and elevations related to the following. Number 1, minor facade changes, reconfiguration of the exterior balconies, relocation of first floor residential units to higher floors for both the north and south towers. Number 2, removal of the amenity deck from the roof of the existing parking garage due to structural concerns, and removal of the vegetated screens on the exterior of the side of the garage. Number 3, the addition of recreational amenities at ground level of the property adjacent to the perimeter of the existing garage structure and on the first floor of the north and south towers, and removal of 35 parking spaces along the perimeter of the garage to accommodate those amenities. Number 4, additional landscaping along the northwest elevation of the garage. The petitioner is also requesting modification of the designated 5% units of the south tower as affordable housing at 120% AMI for 25 years to eliminate said units. The redevelopment is intended to occur in stages, the north tower redevelopment commencing first, and the south tower redevelopment following completion of the north tower. The petitioner acknowledges that delivery of affordable housing units in the south tower will not be a date certain. Therefore, the petitioner is proposing to make a $1 million affordable housing contribution in 2 parts. $400,000 with the issuance of building permits for the north tower, and $600,000 with the issuance of building permits for the south tower. The total affordable housing contribution is intended to serve as a fee in lieu of provisions of any affordable units. As directed in condition number 29 of ordinance 24-4 Zebra 4683, all modifications to the building elevation, signage, and landscaping shall be subject to review and approval of the Appearance Commission. The petitioner brought portions of the proposed changes to the Appearance Commission on June 11th, 2025, and complete proposed changes to the Appearance Commission on November 12th, 2025. Certificates of appropriateness were issued on both occasions. Staff has reviewed the site plan approval modification request. Staff has no objection to the request and recommends that the petitioner's request be approved to amend the approved plan ordinance 24-4-Zebra 4683 to modify the site plan at 5202 and 5250 Old Orchard Road to reflect the current ownership and according to the attached proposal facts.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board for either Chairperson Luke or Ms.
Mr. Short
Nyden?
is in the audience, if available for questioning too.
Okay, the developer, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So if I'm understanding correctly, any affordable units would exist in the South Tower. And because the date of those units cannot be confirmed, they're suggesting a fee in lieu. But the fee in lieu would be partially from the North Tower construction and partially from the South Tower construction. But what concerns me is that if we can't guarantee that affordable units are coming online at any given date, how are we to understand that construction will stay on time, that this won't be an eyesore, that we won't be holding the bag for this, that the North Tower will be constructed and fine and going, and then, oh no, we don't have enough funding or whatever for the South Tower? I mean, that seems very, very strange to me. Can you please clarify the thinking and the thought process about that issue?
Thank you, Trustee Lissalevy. I'd like to ask for clarification, just so that will be, what was proposed initially.
My name's Alan Lev. I'm principal of the development team.
Thank you, Mr. Lev.
Yeah, a few clarifications. Number one, these are existing buildings, so it's not a question of whether these buildings are going to get built. Second point is that the planned development that was approved had 0 affordable units in the North Tower, had 5% of the units in the South Tower at 120% of AMI. What we're proposing is to go above and beyond what was required in the ordinance, to be good citizens and at the request of staff. So we are making a payment in lieu of providing units in the future by paying $400,000 on the North Tower before construction starts on the rehabilitation, and $600,000 on the South before that starts. The method to the madness for that, I guess, or the rationale for that is there's a lot of front-end loaded costs on doing the North Tower first. We've spent about $500,000 to relocate and terminate existing office tenants in the North Tower. We have expanded the on-site amenities and landscaping. The architects and the engineers are also front-loaded costs. The project at this point is just on the cusp of financially working. We have a loan approval from First Bank Chicago, and any more kind of tinkering or moving or more money in the budget is going to put the project in peril. But we're going above and beyond what is required by the existing plan development. The changes that we have asked for and that have been were unanimously approved by appearance better the project, don't diminish the project in any way. So in our view, we're improving the situation and doing what Skokie wanted, which was give us some money for our affordable housing program.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lev. Is there capacity to shift the allocation of dollars a bit so that the village would receive, so that we split it evenly between the North Tower and South Tower, that the village would receive $500,000 when the occupancy permits, or I'm sorry, building permits are issued for the North Tower, and then the balance to be remitted when the permits are issued for the South Tower?
We could squeeze that in and accommodate that, yes.
Thank you. And we do appreciate, because when this first came to the board, the ordinance was not in effect. So your interest in being a good community partner
Well, I grew up at
is
Skokie, and I went to
appreciated.
Nowsies High School, so I got to do good things for Skokie, so.
Okay, other questions from, Trustee Lissalevy, did you have any follow-up?
No, I'm going to trust my other trustees to ask some more comprehensive questions.
Okay, Trustee Schechter.
I just have two questions. One is, why is it that this isn't going back to the Plan Commission? It does seem to me that there are a lot of, I don't want to appearance, but the fact that there's a change in ownership. When we were dealing with the project that was on what was it, 7952 originally back in the summer, because there were some changes, it had to go back to the Plan Commission. Why is it that this one isn't going back to the Plan Commission?
I haven't practiced law in a long time, although I am a lawyer, and the zoning and a planned development would run with the land. It really has no bearing on who's the owner. We were just clarifying ownership, because apparently, and I wasn't involved in this way back when, but apparently it happened very quickly, and it's more of cleaning up a little bit of a mess than it is anything substantial or substantive. But the zoning follows the land. It doesn't matter who owns it, frankly.
Ms. Knighton, do you have anything to add to that? Thank you, Mr. Levin.
So this was proposed, this is presented as a modified review. There's no increase in intensity, there's no cross easement. The project had issues with where is everyone going to park. They're sharing lots and parking. This is with limited resources, and if you recall, they were on 3 different parking lots. And that there was also an issue of a subdivision within the site that was going to go basically through a driveway. So there was a little more complexities to that particular one. With this one, there's still a stake in the ownership. My understanding is a stake in the ownership of the original developer that ultimately purchased the property. So
Even with the loss of 35 spaces, of moving amenities to the ground floor.
This is one of our most
it's-
overparked spot buildings in all of Skokie.
And then the other thing was, I just wanted to make a comment before Trustee Kamani Levy goes, and just that 120% AMI would not, for Skokie in any stretch of the imagination, would be affordable housing. I mean, the definition for rental is generally 60% of AMI, homeownership 80%. And just so you're aware, I looked at the chart for the Chicago area. So 120% of AMI for a household of one is a salary of $100,800. So if they live in a one-bedroom, when you do the calculation where it's 30% of your income, that's a rent of $2,520. And today I took a look to see how many one-bedroom apartments are available in Skokie for under $2,520, and it was 100%, even at Optima, even at the Henry. So 120% is actually, that's like the market. So I would not, I mean, the only reason I'm, favorable to the fee in lieu is that this was not subject to our ordinance in the first place. But I just want to be clear to anybody listening here that 120% of AMI is not affordable.
Thank you. Trustee Kamani Levy?
Thank you for coming out tonight. I kind of want to piggyback a little bit off of what Trustee Schechter is saying, in that I appreciate that the fee exceeds the minimum, but above and beyond should be measured by families that are housed and not necessarily the size of the check. The outcomes matter more than the optics. But I do have a couple of questions about the community and how they've been notified and brought into this project.
Which community?
Ms. Knighton?
It's an office building with no residents anywhere around it. so
I
I'm not
understand,
sure
but
I
there are
understand.
still residential, it's a residential area, so that we have the Optima and.
So that would have all been noticed in 2024.
So when
Okay.
it originally came forward, we have a noticing requirement whenever we do anything. So residents within 250 feet of the property are sent a letter from the village, and there's a sign on the site.
Are the changes going to be re-notified to?
The changes, our code does not require a
Okay.
change to re-notify.
Okay. And then since I was not part of the original, what does it look like in terms of like traffic concerns and how that's going to impact the community?
Sure, so recalling the traffic study from when it was originally went through the process, this is a less intense use than the office use. These are 2 office towers. There's more parking. We park office, when we say we park office, there's more parking spaces for the usable footprint of activity in the office space. So there's 1 less cars coming to the site each day. There also, we know residential uses are spread out more or less throughout the day. Maybe there's an early rush hour, end of the day, school pickup, drop off. Office is usually in pre-pandemic times generally had a 9 o'clock start time and, 5 o'clock-ish. And so you get queues up. This, this area was probably more challenging for people to make turns out of at those peak hours. Some of the traffic engineers spoke about concerns that they had heard historically about the property and those issues. So the feeling among our plan reviewers was that this is going to be a less intense use, and the concern that was that at that intersection at Old Orchard Road is no longer present.
Sure. One more quick thing. I did see that there was a concern about the garage, and they removed something from the plan.
So there was an amenity, when it came through, there was an amenity deck on the top floor with a pool and other things. The challenge with adaptive reuse is you don't know what you're getting into until you start to do some plans and some demolition and start to study the structure. So this is one of those examples, and then we also know the escalating prices of everything that's happening in our environment. So when we're now almost 2 years from when that approval originally was, the world looks very different from a cost perspective, ability to accomplish things. So the developer has made the decision to remove that deck in order to do other things in the building, but that just became prohibitively expensive.
Sure, but my question is, are there any other structural concerns with that garage? Okay.
No, it's just adding load on top of the garage that would not work. We had structural engineer Thornton Tomasetti take a look at it. They studied the garage and they said you can't add all that extra live load, et cetera. So instead, we expanded the open space and the amenity space on outside. That's why we took away some parking spaces. It's still way over parked. And we added amenity space on the first floor of each of the buildings. One more point about housing costs, and definitely too high everywhere, and unfortunately going up. And while the rents we are going to be providing at market rate are not affordable rents, they're going to be significantly less than the new projects like the Henry and Optima. And we're able to do that because we're taking and adaptively reusing an office building that is almost entirely vacant. So our rents are going to be able to be very competitive, meaning less than the competitors around there. So while it won't qualify as affordable housing, it is more affordable than the market rate housing that's getting built right now in Skokie.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Are there other questions? Okay, we'll close board discussion. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the village board about this project?
I noticed on your website regarding the northbound ramp to its services, the northbound ramp on Old Orchard Road services this area, and I was really surprised that it was published on March 5th of 2024. The project scope, it says it's 2 turn lanes on the 94 eastbound ramps on the Old Orchard intersection, a new multi-use path on the south side of Old Orchard, roadway and bridge widening, installation of storm sewers, traffic signals, and lighting, and intersection improvements. I gotta tell you, in Wheeling, we had a far more involved project on Dundee Road, where water main pipes all up and down, and our village manager, I really commend John Spondilis to you. That guy worked with the state of Illinois to make sure that their water main project would be happening at the same time as when the state was doing it. I mean, he would never tolerate this kind of length. The fact that your village manager published on your website on March 5th, 2024, that the timeline was going to be final completion in 2026 for this minuscule area, I'm shopping at Oak Brook. That's a mess in there to exit. It's just a mess. It's taken excessively too long. I think if you compare it to other projects, much wider in scope, I think that your village manager needs to be more zealous in dealing with other government agencies. I know it's IDOT and all of that, but I just think it's widely considered that this particular project has taken much longer than other projects in our area in Cook and Lake counties. I just think that he shouldn't have just accepted that laying down. He should have been more of an advocate for the community, because, the tax revenue for that shopping center You know, it's not illegal to publish it, like how much, you know, what they're producing every year, but I bet you've taken a big hit. And then who makes up for that, the loss to the budget? That's the homeowners, yeah.
So next time, if you decide to address the board, we need to make sure you're on the exact topic that we're speaking of. You were, but it's not this, though. So, Mr. Dalka.
Hang on a second, there's somebody else's paperwork here. I don't know who it is. David Dalka, 9330 Laurel. I rise in rampant opposition to this very notion of switching from an office building to a residential and just pretend that that's automatic. Skokie has a history of entrepreneurship that was led by a wonderful entrepreneur named Joe Levy, who happened to, Gail Schechter will be very interested to know that he had an office on Main Street. Remember where that cow and the horse was right there, right by Dengio's on the north side of the street for years and years? That was there. And he, you know, in this area, we built famous businesses that started as small businesses and became IPOs that made many Skokie residents have jobs close to their homes, which is a topic I've never seen discussed before this board in the time I've been coming here for the past year. And there's you know, so J.D. Searle was in a building somewhere in this area and became that. And a lot of these buildings were office buildings. And, you know, in our history, we also had U.S. Robotics, Crawford, other places like that. So this rush to take every office building and turn it into a residential building, I think is misguided. And I have to beg people to send this back to the Plan Commission as Trustee Schechter recommends, not because of the small changes we're talking about here this evening, but just based on the basic issue of why are we in such a rush to convert every office building to these things here? People in Skokie need jobs. They want jobs close to their home. They want to work for growing small companies where they could IPO and be a millionaire like U.S. Robotics did and like Searle did and others. I can't think of them all right now, but I think this is, you know, I've been in this building for medical office things. It's a very nice Class A office building. I could understand why somebody would want to move in there and quickly do this, but I also think it's irresponsible to vote for this without voting on a fourth ambulance first. You're adding more residents to this village and not fixing a core problem that's needed a vote for over 8 months. We need to stop overbuilding the northwest part of Skokie and make it a place where eagles can safely live and be with these things here. And we keep adding more and more residential buildings. There's no services here. There's no restaurants. There's nothing unless you cross the other side of the expressway. And, you know, I don't understand. I don't understand the rush to convert every office building to that. We're taking away incomes, we're making commutes longer, which is bad for the environment, and I beg you guys to reconsider this whole notion that we have to turn every office building into a residential building.
Ms. Grodnicki.
When this project came before the board the first time around, it was built as, hey, look at how green we're being. We are reusing this building. We're not building something new. We're not doing all of this demo. But I'm going to say the same, and that's true, that the building envelope, right, reusing the building envelope is sustainable, although there's a lot of demolition that has to happen on the inside because the way the floors were, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, they're cement. And they weren't designed to have a bathroom in every unit, so now they have to poke all of these holes up through to put the risers up. So there's a lot of plumbing that has to go in, but I am going to say the same thing that I said almost 2 years ago, which is that spandrels are basically just windows, right? Spandrels, which is what this building is covered in, it looks like it's all windows, and behind some of those panels, there's cement. But the thing is, they're all in metal frames, and those metals are exactly the same kind of thermal bridge I was talking about we need to get rid of. So the heat just goes straight out the window, like the frames of the spandrels. So I urge this developer, I urge the board, if you're going to give them any kind of variances, I'm not entirely sure what has to get reapproved tonight, but say to them, listen, see what you can do about breaking up those thermal bridges. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close public comment. I would ask for a motion to concur with modified review case 2025-03M with the change about the 50/50 split of the $1 million fee in lieu that has been offered. Moved. Thank you, Trustee Robinson. Is there a second? Trustee Pure-Slovan. Any other comments from the board? Trustee Schechter?
Just wondering if, per Ms. Grodnicki's comment, if the developer would consider some of those considerations with regard to the environment, making sure that the envelope is not going to be leaking energy and that kind of thing, just.
Project has to meet the energy code of Illinois and Skokie.
Mr. Lev, could I trouble you to go to the microphone so that we're officially on the record? Thank you.
Yeah, the project has to comply with the energy code of both Skokie and the state of Illinois. We build a lot of new buildings in Chicago and elsewhere where we use metal frame windows. I mean, there's an energy code and there's calculations on what you have to meet. So that's what we'll be doing. It's obviously not, it would be cost prohibitive to tear down the entire curtain wall of the building. We're already modifying the curtain wall to add operable windows and balconies. And beyond that, we're not able to do anything beyond that. But we'll be meeting all village codes.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kamani Levy?
I'm hesitant because I would like to see more housing. I'm just disappointed, so I'm going to say nay.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Nay.
Trustee Pure-Slovan? Aye. Trustee Schechter?
Aye. The motion passes. Paul, please stay there. Mr. Luke. The next item on the agenda are 3 Plan Commission cases that Mr. Luke will present. We'll give the room just a second to reshuffle. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Luke.
Yes. My first case, and I have 2 cases that are related. Cases 2025-16P, a special use permit request, and case 2025-17P, site plan approval. And this is for the Estapolic Catholic Assyrian Church of the East Diocese of North America for a site plan approval amendment that includes an expansion of the existing building to allow for a relocation of the existing religious assembly use from the gymnasium into a dedicated space at the north end of the building. The construction of a new facade and dedicated entrance at the west end of the relocated religious assembly use, minor modifications to the existing landscaping and parking lot striping at 5050 Church Street in a B2 commercial zoning district as recommended and approved by a vote of 8 ayes and no members, 1 member absent. The petitioner also requests a special use permit for a religious assembly use also recommended for approval by a vote of 8 ayes and 1 member absent. The request includes the following: the construction of a 1,536 square foot addition to the northwest corner of the building and remodeling of the north portion of the building, formerly the location of the Meyer Kaplan Jewish Community
Excuse me,
Center.
Chairperson Luke, I'd like to stop you because I think you may have misstated something. I just want to be clear. The 1,536 square foot addition, you said northwest corner. It's printed northeast.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
That's okay. I just wanted that clarified for the record. Thank you.
Okay, again, this is the portion of the building that was formerly the location of the Meyer Kaplan Jewish Community Center pool. That would allow the Mar Sargas Parish to relocate from the building's gymnasium that has been utilizing it for several years. A new vestibule will be constructed on the west side of the building and function as the main entrance of the church. The 6,658 square foot worship space will contain movable seating for 300 parishioners, a sacristy, a office, and 2 powder rooms. A staircase and an elevator will be installed and provide access to the mezzanine in the worship space, as well as a quiet room and choir room. The implementation of a shuttle bus service that will provide access to additional 125 parking spaces at Assyrian National Council of Illinois, located at 9131 Niles Center Road. The planting of additional landscaping throughout the subject site, installation of new bicycle racks near the main entrance of the building, and also the new entrance to the church. Legal notice was published, and one individual submitted a letter expressing concern regarding parishioners parking illegally in their business parking lot. Another individual living in the neighborhood spoke at the meeting, stating that the parishioners have parking along his block, and on several occasions has not been able to park on the street near his house at these times. I believe those problems were addressed with additional agreements for parking at the 9131 Niles Center location. So therefore, we respectfully request that both these cases be approved.
Okay, thank you. So I think what we'll do is we'll have our discussion first, and then we'll take, because there's 2 motions, we'll take them in order, but we'll have our discussion first. I'd like to start off quickly by saying I fully support this, and I wanted to give a nod to both staff and also to the petitioner, because it's my understanding that the petitioner has in good faith worked hard to rectify the parking issues, and we are grateful for that. So we appreciate that, and we have equal faith that in good faith that will continue into the future, and if not, we'll certainly need to have more discussions, because as you heard this evening in our discussion about short-term rentals, and I know you'll appreciate that we take the integrity of our residential neighborhoods with the utmost of seriousness, and we need to protect, the quality of life in our neighborhoods. So I'd like to again thank staff for their work with the petitioner and for the petitioner's good faith. Yes, Trustee Pure-Slovan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very excited by this project. I'm glad we were able to work out the parking issues. As you stated, this was originally built as a community center, and the fact that we're retaining it and keeping its integrity of being a community center, maybe it's quote-unquote not for the Jewish community, but it's from our partners, the Assyrian community, people we want to reside and live in Skokie. So I'm really excited that we found another use to keep it in the community. I have a question, because I'm not understanding something about what we're required to do. I get that you're doing an addition and you're beautifying the building, because it's kind of ugly, my opinion. However, we don't have to, it's not, the permit that we're giving is for the expansion?
Yes.
Okay, because already there are services there. I've been to the services there, so I'm quite clear about what you're using the facility for, so that's not a problem. It continues to, the fact that it's a place of worship is not an issue, correct?
No.
And we don't have to change any permits because it was a community center, correct? I just want to make sure I'm understanding that. And in the past, since I do have history with Mayor Kaplan JCC, since my children all went to school, nursery school there were large gatherings. There was a theater. We did in Skokie handle that extra parking and issues. I do remember there were times that there were parking lot issues. So I do believe that what you're doing is a stopgap to utilize the old B'nai Amuna parking lot, as we would say, is a great way, but most importantly, I'm just thrilled to see that it continues to be a community place. I think that this is wonderful, and I really hope that we can make this work, and I thank you for being a good neighbor.
Other comments or questions from the board? Trustee Kamani Levy.
I'm going to second Trustee Pure-Slovan. I'm really excited about this project as well. And I hope, I'm also glad that the parking situation was rectified. So I'm just excited for the community, the Assyrian community, and I'm looking forward to this project moving forward. Thank you.
Trustee Robinson?
Ditto. Yeah, ditto. I don't think there's anything more that I can add, but to express my congratulations to the community for your continued support in the community, and it's a great project. So.
Thank you, trustee. Anything else? Trustee Schechter?
Well, I just want to add my support as well. I think this is, I like the way Trustee Pure-Slovan put it about, continuing this as a use as a community center. And, so I'm really happy about that. Thank you.
All right, we will close our board discussion, and as with any action item, we do allow time for up to 5 speakers at 3 minutes each. It looks like Mr. Dalka is interested in addressing the board again.
Good evening. I rise in support of the general concept of them expanding the building, especially on the northwest corner, facing the unsightly ComEd property, and I applaud for that. However, I don't believe we've addressed the parking problem with that. I've seen on days where they parked 3-4 blocks past that ComEd building that's just right there past that. So I'd like to ask the board to consider tacking on an ordinance that when they have their large gatherings, that the north side of Church Street from that ComEd building to Jane Stenson is a no parking zone. Because 150 spaces doesn't address the magnitude. I'd say the other way that they could potentially do that is a lot of organizations like this, they break their services up into 2 different times during the day to deal with a larger accommodation of that. And I think that that would be helpful to addressing my one and only concern. I'd also like to ask that they ask ComEd to beautify with some trees on the east end of ComEd's property so that when people come out, they see something nice as opposed to something that's currently there. My feelings about that, and ComEd needs to be a better neighbor to everybody, including these people. So my only issue and concern is getting a verbal, maybe just even a verbal commitment from them to not have people park on the north side of Church Street from Lawler to Jane Stenson during their services. That's the only request I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's no one else who cares to address the village board. We will close public comment. We will take these one by one. So the first, I would request a motion to concur with Plan Commission 2025-16P, special use permit for 5050, the property at 5050 Church Street. Is there a motion? Moved by Trustee Kamani Levy, seconded by Trustee Pure-Slovan. Discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lisa Aye. Trustee Pure-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
The motion passes. Secondly, I would ask for a motion to concur with Plan Commission 2025-17P, site plan approval for the property at 5050 Church Street. Is there a motion? Trustee Robinson, second by Trustee Schechter. Discussion? Being none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lisa Aye. Trustee Pure-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.
And the motion passes. The project is approved. Thank you.
My next case for the board is case 25-19P, special use permit at 7550 Linder Avenue. At the November 20th meeting of the Plan Commission, we reviewed a request from Gandhi Group LLC for a special use permit for a limited retail use, plus relief from Chapter 118-717, I believe sub-I-E, in order to provide a limited retail use that exceeds 10% of the total floor area at 7550 Linder Avenue. The request includes the following: the legalization of an existing 1,910 square foot retail sales area that the petitioner has been operating since February of 2024. The retail sales area contains displays of packaged dry goods, refrigerated prepared food and beverages, cooking utensils and equipment, health and beauty supplies, as well as a checkout counter. The installation of a bike rack and placement of a trash receptacle within the area to the east of the building and south to the existing 20-space parking lot. Plan Commission concur with staff's recommendation to grant the special use permit. I believe the vote was 8 ayes and 1 member absent.
Thank you, Chairperson Luke. Discussion from the board? Okay, there's none. Anyone in the audience who would like to address the village board on this project? Okay, there being none, I would ask for a motion to concur with Plan Commission case 2025-19P for a special use permit at 7550 Linder Avenue. Moved by Trustee Pierce-Slovan, seconded by Trustee Robinson. Discussion? Okay, being none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy? Aye. Trustee Pierce-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye. And the motion passes.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairperson Luke. We now will go, and thank you, Ms. Neiden. We'll go into our final public comment period, maximum of 30 minutes, 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone who would like to address the village board at this time? Please.
My name is Alex Chamo, longtime Skokie resident. As an Assyrian community member and a lifelong Skokie resident, I would like to just say thank you very much. Personally, me, growing up, I was a camp counselor at the JCC. So, it's kind of full circle here. Really appreciate all you guys are doing and accepting this approval. So, very much appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the village board? If not, we will close public comment. Before we adjourn, I'd like to just once again thank our staff, thank our professional staff, Ms. Neiden, Mr. Lockerbie, Mr. Wyatt, all of the staff who work so hard behind the scenes they work with the community. They help us get to yes when we can get to yes. And I wanted to just once again acknowledge their diligence, their professionalism, and the excellence with which they serve our community. So with that said, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Trustee Kamani Levy, second by Trustee Keith Robinson. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kamani Levy?
Aye.
Trustee Robinson?
Aye.
Trustee Iverson?
Aye.
Trustee Lissa Levy?
Aye, and thank you for letting me attend remotely.
Feel better.
Trustee Pierce-Slovan?
Aye.
Trustee Schechter?
Aye.